these days, that is what a watch is. Of course, you had a watch for time, but now it's how does it make you feel? Like, I love the weight of it. I love the sound of it, or if I layer it with bracelets, it becomes an accessory, a fashion accessory.
You've been with Omega for quite a while, since 1995. You've been pretty, and not just sort of like doing an ad campaign here and there, you've been pretty deeply involved with them since the beginning. So I figure we'll start kind of where it started, I guess.
hmm
Do you remember how Omega first kind of like reached out to you, what your first interaction was with them back in the 90s?
Yes, I remember that I got a call from my agent about doing just a photo shoot. It was a modeling gig. It really was. It was like, hey, Omega. That's just the way jobs came in. It would be like it's Versace with Avedon, and this is the money. So it's Omega with Herb Ritz, who was one of my favorites, and also a very good friend of mine. And here's the money. And it's shooting in LA. I'm like, okay, love shooting with her, but I knew it was going to be pretty. And we came to LA and we shot it in Herb's studio. And that was the first time I kind of met the team. And it was just like any other modeling job. It went great, it went smooth. But I think we all clicked. And so they invited me to an event a few months later. I think it was in Milan. And I don't think they were really using ambassadors at the time. I think
Right.
it was kind of a new idea
It
that
was, yeah.
I have to give. His name was Jean-Claude Biver. He
Yeah.
was the head guy at Omega at the time, and he really had this vision for me and the way that they shot me. It was very more lifestyle, um, and then he had the vision of incorporating me into these because the watch world was kind of very like niche in a weird
Sure.
way, like all those watch geeks who all like geek out on certain things. But to really see, especially for a woman's watch, as fashion.
Yeah.
And I think that, we just got along and we traveled the world together. And even though Mr. Beaver went on, I've been with Omega, as you said, for 25 years now. It's great. I always say, like, I've been married to Omega longer than I've been married to my husband.
Yeah,
And
it's
we've
it's
never
funny.
had a fight.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I was going to ask you about Mr. Biver. He's
Mhm.
a larger than life personality.
Uh,
I think most folks listening to this show probably know who he is. We've had him at some of our events and things in the past. He's incredible, and like you said, it was this sort of vision he had to incorporate personality and pop culture into watches that really helped kind of push them out of obscurity in a lot of ways. And you were not just there; you were a sort of like foundational part of this. Are there any stories from early on, from some of those early trips and early shoots that stand out to you as particularly just like fun memories?
well, I mean, this is just a testament to how much I love Jean-Claude. Is just, he is a visionary. He really is, and I know he gets the credit for that. Like, I think they did like a Harvard business
Yeah.
thing on him or whatever. So, okay, he gets enough credit. But so what's really amazing about Jean-Claude is he has impeccable taste. And what he really taught me was taste is not about, it doesn't have to be about money, right? And so one time we were doing an event in Switzerland and he invited my team to Lausanne where has a home, and he took us on a picnic for the day. And he like packed a picnic basket and we're go on this little train up to the top, and we get off and we're having, and actually I just posted a picture on my Instagram recently of this, but where we get off the train and we're having like this little picnic on the side of the tracks, and we're like, oh, the air is even better here, the grass is greener. It was just like such a perfect charming day. And then he unfolds the picnic and there's hard boiled eggs, and we're like, even the eggs here are like such a beautiful color. And he started laughing, and I said, what are you laughing about? And he said, oh, he added something to the water that he boiled them in just to enhance their color a little bit, and it was like that kind of attention to detail, but also appreciation of beauty for beauty's sake. Um, that I always loved about him. And he taught me how to eat raclette. I mean, I've never met a man who just has joy for life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great wine, it's the best cheese, it's hard boiled eggs that are, dyed to just the right color.
That's incredible. That all tracks 100%. None of that surprises me at all. That's wonderful. Um, yeah, I mean, really, really early on, also the incorporation of not just yourself, but like you said, photographers like Herb Ritts, like really making watches something that could be elevated to the same level as something like fashion, for example. And I know that that sort of, to call it a duality maybe isn't the right word, but that pairing of watches and fashion and watches is something that I think you and Omega and Jean Claude have been a big part of, really reimagining what watches can be in that way. And for you, I wonder, how do you think about the relationship between fashion and watches?
These days, that is what a watch is. We do not need a watch anymore. There is no practical reason to wear a watch. I mean, my watch is never even set on the right time half the time because I don't have like one of those fancy things that, keep it clicking even when you're not wearing it. And it is a fashion statement. I mean, especially for men, I think it's always been that men have so few like accessories. There's this thing about, like for instance, my husband who's very understated, but like he'll notice, you know, if someone's wearing, you know, certain watch, or I know like he'll have a t-shirt on, but he'll still have like the statement watch. Like you couldn't tell anything about him except from his watch. I think for women, now it's also, I mean, when I grew up, of course you had to watch for time, but now it's how does it make you feel? Like I love the weight of it. I love the sound of it, or if I layer it with bracelets, it becomes an accessory, a fashion accessory. And I think for people who really love watches, kind of understanding the craftsmanship. And I know for me, like going the first time, and I've been many times since, but going the first time to, the factory and watching the watchmakers put these tiny, I mean, they're like smaller than a half a grain of rice, these tiny pieces all together so beautifully. And then it's all covered up half the time. I mean, some watches have the open back, which I love, but a lot of times we don't even see like the most beautiful part of a watch really. And I love that real watch lovers, like they have an appreciation for the watchmaking and the precision.
Are there any watches over the years that you've gotten that like mark special occasions or that you wore during a particularly important event? Like ones that just, when at the end of the day, if you had to get rid of things, like these are the ones you're going to hold on to?
Well, I have a one of a kind actually that Mr. Hayek, um, the senior who's since passed away. Um, I was teasing him once about like, oh, I want a platinum one. I was just being bratty. I mean, but in a fun way. I was like, I want a platinum one. And the next time I saw him, I had a platinum constellation. What I didn't understand is that platinum, because it's soft, it's not ideal for watches. So it's a more of a special occasion watch, but it's beautiful.